NFL draft coming up a week from tomorrow. Our first round gets underway.
Oh.
Huh?
The first of 9,426 rounds?
No, only 7.
Good God.
Good God. I think there should be more rounds of the NFL draft.
That's
It's
terrifying.
It's a 53-man roster, and you have 7
You have
rounds.
85 going into the season?
I mean, come on. Major League Baseball has a 742 round draft.
I think they only have 20 now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
They used to just make rounds up. They
Yeah,
just draft guys just for the hell of it.
They used to have unlimited rounds where it was just like if a team just still wanted to take a guy, they'd just be like, but most teams would be like, pass. That's how Mike Piazza became a Dodger. Mike Piazza became a Dodger as a favor to Tommy Lasorda.
Good God.
That one worked out okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Seemed like a pretty good pick there. But he was one of those
62nd round draft pick. 62nd.
Yeah.
A Hall of Famer from the 62nd round.
As most come from.
Yeah.
You know, like
Suck
most
it, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, most of the time we see that happen. You know? Just go ahead and do it.
He was a 262nd pick?
Because after the NFL draft wraps up, there's the free agent frenzy. And it is just guys just get calls left and right trying to, get that opportunity and get that shot. But yeah, we get the NFL draft. Round 1 will be next Thursday. And there's a pretty interesting storyline that's starting to percolate across the NFL. Because the over-under on offensive draft picks in the first round has been set at 21.5 for offensive players. Of the 32 first-round selections, they believe 21.5 is the over-under for offensive players.
Which, just off the top of my head, that's not that feels low. Because this draft is not littered with defensive guys.
I believe that would be a record.
That would be a record, Bob. And only 11, that'd be 11 defensive players is kind of what they're talking about. But what we may also see is think of every mock draft that you have looked at, every, draft analysis that you've seen. How many defensive players are you seeing in the top 10?
Well, you don't have the top end pass rusher. That's like, oh my God, you have to take this guy. You don't have the all-world corner. There's some good corners in this draft, there's no doubt. You don't have, not that you see him in the first round too often, but you don't have the linebacker that can be on the field for every down.
Well, I think you also have a lot of questions about some of the high-end talent. I mean, Dallas Turner is probably going to be the number 1 defensive player off the board.
Sure.
But the other guys that are propped up as the high caliber, everything tells you yes, are guys like Laitu Latu from
injuries.
UCLA, where the University of Washington told him you can't play football anymore, and he had to go and find a doctor to clear him. Turned out pretty good.
Your neck is made of paper. We don't want to risk you dying. And then you got Cooper DeJean, who's one of the top corners in the draft, and he's coming off a knee getting shredded.
Well, and he's a white corner.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, if we're being honest here, there is some white corner.
Well, and I think the last Mel Kiper mock draft I saw had him going number 25 to the Green Bay Packers, and what would be probably the most Packers-ish pick ever.
Boy, you're not lying.
The white corner in Green Bay. Whew.
But
that jersey's selling.
We usually see a defensive player in the top 10 selected. And if you take a look, on record, the lowest a defensive player has been selected is 8th overall. In 2021, we saw J.C. Horn get selected 8th overall by the Carolina Panthers.
The Ringer has Tyrion Arnold as the first defensive player off the board to the Falcons at number 8.
Okay. When you think of the way this first round may shake out, you may see teams that are quarterback thirsty, right? That may trade up Minnesota. And could we see a team like Atlanta say, if we're going defense anyways, who's going to jump up ahead of us and go defense? We could bump down. We could see a defensive player in the top 10, probably 9th or 10th. We could see that record set. And to think of the importance that we put on getting to the quarterback, being a disruptor, being a lockdown corner in the NFL, how important those guys are. The fact that we will not see a top 5 defensive player selected. We may see a guy 8th, 9th, or 10th, which would be the lowest a defensive player's ever been drafted.
It also lets you know
That's why Nick Saban's quitting.
where you can find some value.
That's why the great teams are going to get better this year in the draft.
And this is, again,
those guys get pushed down.
selfishly, the Raiders should be trading down.
Should be trading down.
Yes. Is that you can find value because of the things that you need are aplenty.
Too many holes.
Yep.
Well, they've already got their quarterback in that little ass boy Gardner Minshew.
Absolutely. I'm okay with it.
Little ass boy.
A little LAB, baby.
But if you look at it, the last 10 years, 2014, Jadeveon Clowney, that was a decade ago.
Good God.
Yep. He went number 1. Dante Fowler went number 3 in 2015. Joey Bosa, 3rd overall in
That one worked
2016.
out.
Myles Garrett, number 1 in 2017. Denzel Ward, corner, went to the Browns in 2018. He's good.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa, number 2 overall in
That one worked
2019.
out.
Chase Young, number 2 in
Ew.
2020. J.C. Horn, number
Solid.
8 overall in 2021. Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall in 2022. And Will Anderson, number 3 last year to the
Will
Houston
Anderson worked out.
Texans.
Where do we fall on Trayvon Walker? He's been good.
He's been good. He is
just
good.
not great.
Plays in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Jagging with Jeff. What do we got on Trayvon Walker? How do you feel about Trayvon Walker?
Good.
Was that a question or an answer to the question?
Good question mark?
Sorry, I'm over here trying to work on podcast stuff. Catching me off guard.
Well, I'm just asking you the very simple,
Yeah, I mean-
jagging questions here. I mean, look, he is good. He's a good edge rusher in the NFL. He's a 10-sack guy in year 2 in the NFL. I'd say pretty good.
He's
It's
again,
pretty good.
Solid.
Pretty good.
Number 1 overall, but good.
Yeah. But
Well, look, there's a lot of years where you might not have somebody worthy of a number 1 overall pick, but somebody has to go number 1.
yeah, somebody does have to go. Anthony Bennett.
It's going to happen in the NBA draft this year.
Anthony Bennett.
Somebody's got to go.
That sucks.
Yeah, it is what it
But
is.
something to keep an eye on. We have a plethora of quarterbacks, wide receivers, offensive line. And those 3 positions are the premiums in the NFL right now. So what you're going to see, those runs going to be going early in this draft that is super deep at those positions, and they want those guys cheap at the beginning of their careers. We may not see a defender until 8, 9, or 10 in the first round.
Kind of weird.
Woo!
Kinda weird to think about.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
Now, speaking of weird and thinking about things,
Oh.
want to check in on Arian Foster? I think that's where we should go next. But first, it's a Big Kahuna with the Sports Center update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at aneheatingandcooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. First on the Fan tonight, it is the East turn for the NBA play-in games. First up, 4 o'clock on ESPN, the Heat at the 76ers. Philadelphia 5.5-point favorites. The winner gets the 7th seed and will face the Knicks in the first round. Loser faces the winner of Hawks at the Bulls for the 8th seed and the right to face the Celtics. Chicago, 3.5-point favorites in that game. Coverage on 910 ESPN Portland starts at 6, tip at 6:30, and can also be seen on ESPN. The Pelicans announced forward Zion Williamson out for Friday's elimination game against the Kings with a left hamstring injury and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. The NBA announcing today, Raptors forward Jonte Porter has been banned for life for violating the league's gambling policy. The statement says he provided confidential information to bettors, limited his participation in games for gambling purposes, and bet on NBA games. And over on the Diamond, the Mariners looking for a sweep of the Reds this afternoon at T-Mobile Park. They are currently headed to the bottom of the second. The Reds with a 1-0 lead over the M's, thanks to an Ellie De La Cruz home run in the second inning. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.